Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, I bow to the Lord Vasudeva. Joy to you, friends. In the in the 38th chapter of the 38th stanza of the second chapter, I've read this before. I want to emphasize it again. Be even-minded in the face of pleasure or pain, gain or loss, victory or defeat. Well, how do you become even-minded? The way of yoga is a very interesting way. It says, for example, it tries to trace it back to you. For example, in each one of these opposites, pleasure, gain, victory, all of these things, you will find that when people rejoice in pleasure, rejoice in gain, and their inhalation is much stronger than their exhalation. The Gita brings it back to you and to your own body and your own consciousness. When you see something that you like outwardly, this is great, your inhalation is stronger. When you think in terms of loss, pain, defeat, I can't. It's not that you just do one exhalation. You repeat it. Your exhalation is stronger than the inhalation. Now, the Bhagavad Gita and yoga teaches to equalize, to come at that midpoint between the two. And they say to, first of all, instead of just thinking, it says that this is the Shankya system where you think your way to these truths. But yoga says that there are physical and mental and energetic correspondences to these outward reactions, and that your entire reactive process is really in your own body. Once you can control that, then you will find that the world will not be as much a draw toward victory or defeat, etc., the opposites of Maya, of Dvaita or duality. And so the important thing, according to the Gita and to the teachings of yoga, which is what we're on now in the Gita, is to neutralize this breathing process, first of all. And how do you do that? Well, the Gita teaches more deeply than that. And this teaching, this deeper teaching of yoga, which Lahiri Mahashaya of Benares reincarnated in order to help to emphasize in the time of the new Dwapara Yuga, when mankind begins to become aware of energy. I told you in one of these talks that when Ben Franklin discovered that lightning, he was able to get electricity from it, his fellow scientists laughed at him. Science is just about as bigoted as religion, let's face it. It does emphasize something very important that religion has not, unfortunately, emphasized. And this is why we try to emphasize that true religion must be scientific. Yes, it bases its findings on experience, but then once it's gotten experience, it becomes dogmatic about that. And anybody else who comes in with some new hypothesis and some new possibility, they exclude him from their reasoning. They won't even let him be published. That at least happened in the case of Immanuel Velikovsky with his Worlds in Collision. Whether his teaching was true or not, I incline to think that much of it was false. Nonetheless, the guy should be given a hearing, and to shout them down is not right. Well, in this age, Lahiri Mahashaya, Master said that Lahiri Mahashaya, he may have said he was King Janaka. I know that he told, he may have been Guru Nanak, but I know Master told me that he was also King Janaka of ancient times. So these great masters come again and again in the world to help man when they need to be brought out of darkness into another level of light. Anyway, Lahiri Mahashaya was the harbinger of yoga. He brought yoga into modern life, and he was able to do it by showing that yoga is not just a physical thing. Its basis is energy, and the direction of energy is the important thing. So when we're talking of the breath, he pointed out that the breath begins in the spine, in movements in the spine. Another interesting thing he pointed out was that when you look at the point between the eyebrows like that, where are you looking from? I had a lot of difficulty with that. But Lahiri Mahashaya in his diaries pointed out that the medulla, which Yogananda said is the seat of ego, you have to be in the medulla, concentrated there in order to look at this point. You can't have yourself sort of all over the place. So this is one reason why, even though the medulla, the ego is centered in the medulla, it's good to center your consciousness, even meditate at that point. This is the point through which energy is brought into the body. Yogananda taught a series of energization exercises in which he taught how to bring energy from the cosmos through the medulla oblongata into the body. And these exercises fill you with energy. But if you meditate on this thought, you might think, oh, I don't want to be in my ego. I want to get away from my ego. But the point of concentrating in the ego, in the center here, is that it's really from this center that you see everything. So you might as well pinpoint it and not try to get away from it by shifting the subject. Don't change the subject. Get down to what it really is about. You, yes, but from you, you can look towards something higher. And so by concentrating in the medulla and then feeling yourself centered there and then looking at the spiritual eye or at the point between the eyebrows, Master said an enlightened being is centered in the point between the eyebrows, not in the medulla. And if you will look at Masters, you will see that that is their consciousness. You can see that this is where their consciousness is centered. So again, when you react, the breath is stronger if you're inhalation, if you're thinking positively. It's a stronger flow in the exhalation if you're thinking negatively. But each of these flows is related to an upward and a downward movement in the spine. You have to equalize that movement in the spine if you want to attain that divine freedom. This is as the essence of Kriya Yoga. It helps to magnetize the spine and to bring all that energy in. And the more you practice Kriya Yoga, the more you feel that nothing else really matters. The pleasures, the pains, the victories, the defeats, all these, they're just a part of the show. You're not touched by them. And so live more in the spine, live more here by watching that point from your ego. But I'm not saying become stuck in the ego. Watch from the ego, watch this, and try to change your level of consciousness, try to change your center of consciousness to this point between the eyebrows. Joy to you.